my Polish is nearly non-existent, so I'll be talking English. Hopefully that's all right. Yeah, so thanks for inviting us to your session today. I am Jarkko Havas. I lead the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's work on data and metrics, and I saw the word Circulytics on some slides already. So that's a project I'm leading at the foundation, and here to talk about that a little bit. And if I understood right, your theme for the day is the Sustainable Development Goals, or at least part of the theme for the day is that. So I'll link what we do in Circulytics a little bit to that topic as well towards the end of the presentation. But I'll start by just explaining what the foundation is. I don't expect many of you to know the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So I'll just very briefly introduce that first and then talk about Circulytics next. So the foundation is all about circular economy. It was founded 10 years ago with the mission to accelerate a transition to circular economy. And I see in the chat box, we know it. So I'll be brief on this first introduction then. But how we think about circular economy is really the opposite of linear economy, really, where we take material, make stuff, and in the end lose that material waste. And, you know, just thinking of that is very wasteful. It's a very wasteful way of using resources, because eventually we'll run out of those resources. And the way that this problem has been tackled traditionally is through sort of sustainability related topics where you try to do a bit less bad. So you use less resources, you reduce waste, but in the end, the problem is that the whole system is still linear. And so we're just postponing the eventuality that we will run out of resources. And therefore you need, one more thing, by the way, is that just treating the end of that line in recycling materials back is not enough, because everything that comes before that is already sort of designed in a way that does not suit, for example, the planetary boundaries. And therefore you need a circular economy and a different way of looking at resources and how we sort of build up an economy. And I think to link it to more recent developments, I think the European Union, for example, has really took on this concept and the Green Deal that has now been accelerated quite a lot by this pandemic, where EU with a lot of actors, including ourselves, are looking into a green recovery plan, and circular economy is part of that. There's, in a way, you know, it's a tragedy that we have this pandemic, but it's also an opportunity to accelerate shifting to a more circular economy, and I think that is indeed happening in Europe. Let's see, the slide is loading. I hope it goes, but the next page will have the principles of circular economy, and everything that we do sort of encapsulates those principles. So the first principle is to design out waste. So you don't just treat the end of the line and try to recycle things, but you design products that remove the concept of waste before it even happens. The second principle is to keep products and materials in use. So once you have created a product to the economy, you make sure that it retains as much value as possible and keep it circulating in the economy. And the last piece, which is often forgotten, is to regenerate natural systems. The three principles that you can see here on the screen now are what we base all our work on. So designing out waste before it happens, so making sure that product design is, for example, repairable products. And once the product hit the market, that they are kept in the economy at as high value as possible, so retaining the original value of that product without recycling, but reusing, repairing, etc. And the last principle is regenerating natural systems. A lot of the material we use in the economy is from renewable sources, and we need to make sure that those ecosystems are healthy, that we use for our own good. So those are the three principles that we base everything on, and those are reflected also in Circulytics. We, as a foundation, work on many fronts. We do research. Circulytics is one of those sort of aspects. We publish reports also quite frequently. We work in certain material flows in industries, more specifically. So perhaps we're most well known for our work in the plastics value chain. We also have a fashion initiative, so for textiles industry, and most recently then food initiative as well, looking at the whole agricultural chain all the way to everybody's plates. We work with a lot of large companies. Some of the world's largest companies are our core members. We have a learning team. We work with academia, and we then have a big communications arm to make sure that we communicate all the things that we do as a foundation. So that's roughly how we're set up. So that's about the foundation. Circulytics then is a project that we started last year in the foundation to measure circular economy performance of companies. We've had really good reception since we launched the tool in January this year. And some of the largest companies in the world have been part of testing and developing and now using that. And there's just a little name drop quote from the CEO of Unilever who also thought that Circulytics can be a helpful tool for companies like themselves. So what Circulytics is for is an independent assessment by the foundation of a company's performance. And we primarily sort of develop the results of this assessment to help strategic decision-making on circular economy, to position circular economy as a strategic priority for companies. And once you've done that, to be able to track your progress year on year. So we encourage companies to do this assessment annually going forward, so you can see how you're progressing as you put resources behind circular economy initiatives. And what we think is that Circulytics is the most comprehensive way to measure this performance. There are, of course, other tools out there as well, but what we see is that Circulytics covers the most ground. We look at different parts of what it means to be a circular company, and I'll get to that in a bit. It's also a free tool, so we invite you as well and your organization to have a go and get assessed through our website. And if you Google Circulytics, it should be the first hit that comes, our website. Shortly, just on stats. So this is quite interesting because we've had a good reception. Almost 500 companies have signed up. And it just shows that it's not just sort of circular economy natives who are interested in this. We have large multinational companies, and a quarter of the companies are with over $1 billion USD of annual revenue, just showing how circular economy is a topic that is timely for everybody. And we see that in the companies that want to get assessed. And also, it's not just companies that we know. Actually, the majority of the companies that are using Circulytics have no connection with the foundation. It just shows how broad topic it is becoming, especially, I think, in Europe and North America. So what Circulytics actually measures, this is a brief introduction to that. So we realize that many companies are new to the topic, and it's not clear what circular economy would mean for you, and therefore many companies often are early on their path to figuring things out. And it wants to be able to sort of help companies along that path to a more circular future, and reflect that in the indicators that we use to measure performance. So we've now categorized then indicators into two buckets. So we measure the enabling conditions in a company first, with roughly half of the indicators. These are all the things that you need to have in place before you can become more circular. So is circular economy part of your strategy? Have you invested in your innovation or R&D function? So all the things that you need to do before you get to actual real world outcomes. And these outcomes are about your material flow. How circular are the products that go into your company, and how circular are the products that come out the other end? is a snapshot of today's performance. And what we want to see is that good scores on enablers translate over time to good scores on outcomes. And that's why also we encourage sort of year-on-year assessment. Okay. We use a method that's familiar to those of you who know about ESG, so the environmental, social, and governance scoring. Oftentimes, this method uses just weighted average of indicator scores. So we have between 20 and 30 indicators, depending on your industry. We have to keep it as short list of indicators as possible and have relevant indicators for different industries. So it's a bit different depending on what you do. For example, services companies would be measured with different indicators than manufacturing companies because you have very different material flows. But then again, for all of those indicators, we would assign a weight and then categorize them onto themes that are in the middle of this page, and then onto categories, so the enablers and outcomes, before then producing an overall score. So it's a funnel going from indicators to themes to categories and one overall score. That's what the assessment looks like. So it's quite in a way, the logic is quite simple. And you can see the themes with very small font in the middle there. So on the enabler side, we look at strategy and planning, how you've rolled out circular economy to your people, your employees, how you've planned and sort of managed your IT systems, your business processes, and your physical infrastructure to make sure that you can do more circular way of doing your business. Whether you've invested in your innovation. It is uncharted waters for many, and innovation is a key element of becoming more circular in the future. As there are not so many case examples for you to follow, you sort of need to lead the way as it is to a circular way of doing things in many instances. And finally, it is a systemic transition, so the whole economy kind of needs to move at the same pace because you can't procure circular goods if you don't have circular suppliers. And at the other end, customers also need to want to buy more circular products in a way. So you need to make sure that your value chain partners especially are moving at the same pace. So therefore, we also have indicators on how do you involve your supply chain partners to make sure that the whole transition can happen at the same time for you. And then on the outcome side, we have, roughly speaking, material and energy input, and then product output on the other side, and we assess the circularity of those material and energy flows. The final result of Circulytics is one-page scorecard where you have a score history, the score breakdown to different elements, commentary from our analysts, and then a benchmark that we are now slowly able to do for different industries as we get more data. At the bottom of the page there, you see a bar chart where your score will be then on each theme compared against an industry average. So those are the elements that we produce as a result of this assessment. Okay, so then linking it back to the SDGs here, in the next edition coming next year, or actually it's a version 3.0. This year we're already launching an improved version, but next year we aspire to link the results of Circulytics very concretely to the Sustainable Development Goals, because many of those goals are you can reach them or work towards them using circular economy. And we want to make sure that companies see how circular economy for them sort of enables them to work towards those goals. So we've identified the indicators that sit under each of the SDGs, and we're now making the link sort of one-on-one to our indicators to show how you can progress towards those targets. As many companies have set themselves SDG-related targets to see how, for one, how you're working towards those, and also to see how circular economy can be means to achieving those ends, achieving SDGs, and for one example, to combat climate change and achieve your emissions-related targets. Circular economy and materials are a very powerful tool for you to work towards those targets, and we want to make it very clear in the next edition. We are also going to publish some statistical analysis. So we don't publish company-specific results, we can publish statistics on, for example, for a certain industry or for a certain region to show how companies are doing on aggregates. And I think that's probably already more than I had time for. So I'm happy to pause there and happy to take questions also after this call if you want to. And my email address is there on the slide.
Yes, I expect that some questions will coming soon from our viewers. Because the time is running and we have to a little bit speed up our presentation and our next company. So maybe one question. Are you able to share the information if any company on the Polish market decided to implement this tool? Do you know about it, and can you give us
if we already have a Polish company?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I would have to look it up. I'm not sure if there's any Polish-based companies, but definitely companies who are active in Poland, because we have many multinational companies who are almost globally active, who have done the assessment.
Okay. So thank you very much for your interesting presentation, and I expect that some of our viewers will contact you and ask additional questions about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.